Good morning.
Hello. Is that Dickie Jiminy's?
This is your early morning call, Mr. Anderbold. How are you? Where are you, more to the point?
Well, I'm currently in a hotel in London, but more specifically, I'm in bed.
Yeah, yes, I can see you're in. Are you waiting for room service or something?
No, it's only because, well, you know what London hotels are like. They're really small.
Yes.
I can sort of tiptoe around the edge of the bed, but there's no space anywhere to sit anywhere with the laptop.
Bit of a tight squeeze.
Yeah, and I forgot my microphone, and I had to get some quick, cheap headphones.
Right.
So it's all a bit of a...
But apart from that, it's
a
perfect.
disaster zone, really.
Did you get a chocolate on your pillow?
No.
Tea and coffee making facilities?
Well, yes, there is a nice coffee machine.
With one of those little biscuits in a plastic wrapper?
No biscuits, but here's the coffee.
How is it? Delicious, I should imagine.
It's pretty good, actually, yeah. Anyway, this is not why people are here. Apologies for the change in sound quality on my side, folks. I'm using a built-in microphone, so it'll be a bit ropey. Yeah. Anyway, there you go, Dickie. You're in situ in normal location.
I'm
now.
ready to go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, shall we just do it then?
It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Pod 43.
1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Here we are. And there
Here
you
we
are,
Richard. Yeah.
Wherever
I'm
that
here.
is.
Yeah. Well, I've moved slightly now from the intro.
So
but only
another view of the room. It's quite delightful.
only about 6 feet. Well, you're getting a bit of a wider shot now. Anyway.
Now, Jamie, I must just say, we need to get a bit of a move on with this because I'm off to see my mum straight after this, okay? Mrs. Orin.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
so if you're listening, Podsterons, keep off the A1M for the next couple of hours, please.
Okay.
Because I'll be straight in the car after this.
You'll be up there in the police cruiser.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Welcome, everybody, to the Gerry Anderson Podcast, number 43. Can you believe we've been going quite so long?
We're probably hoping we wouldn't make it this
Yeah,
far.
quite. You are?
Jamie Anderson. And you?
I'm Richard James.
Hello, Richard James.
And we're here for the next hour and a half or so with the usual gubbins. We've got, of course, everyone's favourite. Well, I say that. We'll be coming to that shortly because I ran a short little poll on the Gerry Anderson Podcast listeners Facebook group about what their favourite part of the podcast was. So let's just say that the Randomiser is certainly up there. And that'll be coming a little bit later with Chris Dale. We've got the news, of course, from all corners of the Gerry Anderson universe, which was also just about featuring in the charts.
Okay.
We've got FAB Facts coming up, of course, everyone's favourite. Well, I say everyone's favourite. Didn't poll that well, Jamie.
Did it not?
And of course, a little later on, we've got a little featurette, I think, this week. A selection of interviews, which did very well in the polling.
Of course.
This
The
week
bit without
featuring
us.
Jamie...
Derek Meddings.
Yeah. Now, who was...
Effects maestro extraordinaire. The man behind all the effects action, right from the sparkler on the back of Torchy the Battery Boys rocket through to epic crash sequences from Thunderbirds Argo and beyond.
Nice.
I mean, amazing stuff.
Great. And this is a collection of stuff from over the years, is it, that you're presenting to us, with us, for us?
Yes, it's a collection of clips from interviews done with Derek in 1992.
Lovely.
That sat in our archive. So they're a little bit higgledy-piggledy. It's not like a great interview where we can chat and say, where were you born, Derek? How did you get your first stuff? I mean, it passed away many years ago, but still nice to have some stuff direct from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. So all that to look forward to. And, of course, listeners' emails. You can get in touch with us quite simply by emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. We love to hear your thoughts and comments and questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. And what we really love, of course, and we haven't had one of these for a while, Jamie, have we, is an audio file, an audio message.
Yes.
from our lovely
Do
listeners.
send us an audio message. Do a little audio recording memo thing on your phone. Email it over. Just do your best to keep it under a minute.
Yep.
Keep it short and snappy.
Yep.
Makes it much easier for us to include.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And also you can get in touch with us on Twitter. You can tag I'm Jamie Anderson or me, Richard N. James, and hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast so that we see your tweets. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review, because we love to see your reviews and we love to see how many people are subscribing so that you get the notification every time a new episode appears.
Absolutely. And we love to see our international subscriber base increasing.
Don't we just? Yeah.
So please keep doing that.
Yeah.
And tell your mates.
That's great. Now, I do have a few tweets just to kick off the proceedings. So first of all, we have, this is in the wake of Pod 42, which, as of course you will know, was our tribute to the wonderful Shane Rimmer, who left us a couple of weeks back. Thunder Furybird tweeted, a lovely tribute to a great gentleman. Thank you, Shane Rimmer. Megan said, a lovely tribute to Shane Rimmer on this week's pod. Listen to it with tears in my eyes and a huge smile on my face. God bless you, Shane, and thanks. And finally, for the moment, Jodie tweeted as well. My dad passed on this day 3 years ago, so hearing this heartbreaking news while I was watching Thunderbirds Our Go was quite hard to take. Scott Tracy was my favourite of the Tracy boys. These characters will live in my heart forever. Well, Jodie, I hope we help out a little bit and bring a little bit of light into your life today. That's what we're here for. Because, yes, we do lose members of the family, and that's inevitable as they age, of course.
Absolutely.
But this is a great place to pay your tribute and share your memories with us. So thank you for that, Jodie.
Speaking of which...
Oh, yes.
This coming Sunday, Richard...
Yeah.
Would have been Dad's 90th birthday.
Would it now?
Would you believe?
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So Sunday the 14th of April.
Crikey.
Yeah. So if you want to do something nice for us on the Sunday to celebrate, then perhaps it's time for another Cheers Gerry Anderson hashtag on Twitter.
I think it's a great idea.
Some pics of you, raising a glass and watching some Gerry Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that all over Twitter and Facebook. So yeah, get watching and get posting.
So that's Sunday the
14th of April.
There we are. Cheers. Hashtag Cheers Gerry Anderson. Let's see that all over Twitter on Sunday the 14th of April. That'd be lovely. Great. Very nice, Jamie. Very nice indeed. So it's about this time every week that we invite the band in and settle back to everyone's fourth favourite part of the podcast, Fab Facts. So should we let them in?
Yeah, okay, in you come,
great.
boys.
Here they come, yeah. Careful, lads. Mind the potted plant. Oh, honestly. Yeah.
I love that tune.
Yeah.
So, Richard,
Yes.
now I know you've been really getting into Fab Facts recently.
Yeah.
And actually starting to enjoy it a bit.
Well, that's overstating it, I think.
A bit, a tiny bit. So what I thought this week
Yeah.
is to involve you a bit more.
Right.
And kind of really get you into the Fab Facts kind of vibe.
Yes.
That maybe, rather than me picking a Fab Fact this week, I can hand it over to you and you can give us a Fab Fact from
hang
your
on.
wonderful Gerry Anderson.
Wait. Jamie,
Yeah.
you haven't got the book, have you?
What?
You haven't
No.
got the book, have you?
No, I haven't got the book. That's
No.
incidental. I was going to do this anyway.
Was it? I see.
Yeah,
Right.
because I just want to involve
really,
you
this
more.
is the only part of the Gerry Anderson podcast that you're in charge of, because Chris Dale gives us the randomizer, the interview's in the bag, the listeners send in their emails.
Yeah.
And
I
you
do
haven't got the
news. I do the news.
I tell you what, I can help you out here. Actually, I've got a couple of Fab Facts of my own.
Oh, great.
How's about that?
Richard, we'd love to hear your Fab
No.
Facts, wouldn't we, listeners?
Well,
yes.
and there they were. Now, I say of my own. In fact, Ian Jacklin can help me out, because Ian Jacklin got in touch with us on Twitter to say, here's a little Gerry Anderson podcast Fab Fact. He says, did you know that Thunderbirds special effects supervisor Derek Meddings, very timely, made a cameo appearance in the John Landis film Spies Like Us, starring Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. Did you know that?
I absolutely did not know that, no.
Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Because that's on a par with the story of Crispin Morel, composer for New Captain Scarlet, Space Precinct, and so much more, appearing, I believe, in a James Bond movie as a child.
Yes. Now, I can't remember which one, and that story comes from your wife, doesn't it?
Yes, so it's perhaps not that trustworthy.
It's a bit of hearsay. But yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah,
That's
because
great.
it came up in connection with John Glenn. I think it's a John Glenn film, or maybe he was second unit or something. And Crispin was saying he had met John before on the set of said movie. So there we are. There's the first Fab Fact. And I don't even have a book, Jamie. You see how easy this is?
All right.
Right, now here's my very own fab fact. Of course, it's all about me being an actor.
Absolutely, so it should be.
Now, did you know that Telly Savalas, the great Who Loves You Baby, Kojak Telly Savalas, was due to appear in the pilot or first episode of Space Precinct as Brogan's boss in New York? Yeah. I think the intention was that he would sort of report back to the chief, Telly Savalas in New York, from Demeter City with his findings and his thoughts about living on an alien planet. Rather like Mork and Mindy. Did you ever watch Mork and Mindy?
Yes, of course.
You must
I
remember
watched Mork and Mindy.
Mork calling Orson. Come in, Orson. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably similar to that. It'd be Ted
Amazing.
calling Telly, wouldn't it? Telly on your telly.
Yeah. And why did that not happen?
I
then?
think he died.
Oh no!
That's what it was.
That's
Yeah.
the only reason. It
Absolutely.
wasn't like, oh, this is a silly idea. It would have been quite nice for Brogan to have had some connection back to work in
Yes,
Space Precinct.
it really would. And what a name to have got on board as well, Telly Savalas.
Yeah.
Of course, he would have filmed all his little inserts in his office in LA, and
Yeah.
just put on a little uniform and shot it over Skype or whatever they had in 1994.
I don't think they had Skype
No,
in
I don't think they
94.
did either, no.
It would have been down an ISDN line or something.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
possibly, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, if you know of any people who almost became cast in Gerry Anderson shows, wouldn't that be interesting? Now, I can remember Ken Drury, I think his name was, an actor who was due to play Sergeant Fredo in Space Precinct,
Really?
but couldn't because, he had something of a panic attack whilst putting the mask on for the first time.
Oh,
And he thought, well, I can't
interesting.
stand this for a year. So there was
And then David Quilter
exactly,
got
a hasty recast. So if you know of any story of anyone who missed out on being in a Gerry Anderson series, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
it. Well, I've got one for you actually, Richard.
Go on.
So I'm not a total letdown on this week's Fab
Not a
Fact.
total letdown, no.
Did you know that the voice of new Captain Scarlet, the 2005 CGI version that Dad put together,
Yeah.
Scarlet was potentially going to be voiced by Pierce Brosnan.
Get away. Shut the door.
Pierce Brosnan almost was the man
Was he?
to bring new Captain Scarlet back to life, but for various reasons it all fell apart.
So what year was this? This was post-Bond then, wasn't it, for him? Or was
yes,
it?
it's 2004. They were
Yeah.
thinking about the casting.
Yeah. Well, Pierce Brosnan.
That would have been a really interesting voice.
It really would. And he would have been a fantastic interviewee to have on the podcast, wouldn't he?
Well, yes, but in an alternate timeline.
Yeah. But,
that could have happened.
we had Wayne Forrester.
Yeah, and he did a brilliant job.
He did
so
indeed.
There you
Of course
go.
he did. That's right.
But there you go. So Bond could have been Captain Scarlet.
There we are. And that's the end of this week's Richard's Facts.
Well, Dickie, thank you for coming to the rescue there.
That's just my job. Just doing my
but
job, man.
at least I did bring up the extra Fab Fact at the end there.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I did something. So, yes, the normal Fab Facts, the fourth most popular part of this podcast, thank you, listeners, we'll be back next week with a proper book and all that sort
Oh,
of stuff.
joy. Yeah, now actually, okay, let's talk about this poll then. So, yes, I ran a poll on the Gerry Anderson Facebook listeners group.
Yes.
Gerry Anderson Podcast Facebook listeners group. There's a lot of words in that.
Yeah.
Now, firstly, if you want to join the Facebook group, you are very welcome, of course, but you do have to answer 3 questions. And I see a few people asking to join without answering those questions. You
Yes.
have to answer those 3 questions before I personally will let you in. I think there's 8
And
or
why do we have those, Richard?
well, it's all about the community spirit, isn't it? So there's simple questions like,
Absolutely.
well, firstly, when did you start listening to the podcast? How do you listen to the podcast? And do you agree to keep it all nice and friendly? Because that is what we're all about. This is a family, as we keep saying. So it's just
Yep.
simply you telling us that you're willing to play by the rules and play safe. So answer those 3 questions and I will let you in. However, I have been running a poll this week asking what the favourite part of the Gerry Anderson podcast was. Well, listeners' emails came last out of the 5 options, but, that's to be expected, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Next, Jamie, Fab Facts came 4th.
Oh, no.
I know. There's a little disappointment in his eye. Look at
That was me thinking it was really popular.
There was you thinking it was really popular.
I didn't cast my vote, I hasten to add.
Fair
So,
enough. Then we have
you know,
news coming in 3rd,
Yeah,
because we all like a bit of news. Chris Dale's Randomiser came 2nd.
which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then the interviews came top.
Yeah.
Quite a runaway success, really.
We have some really fun guests.
We
and
do.
We've had lots along the way, haven't we?
We
So-
have indeed. Yeah.
And many more to come.
Well, let's hope so, yes.
If I get my act together.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, lovely. So there you go. So yes, do join in the conversation on our listeners group on Facebook, and I will let you in personally.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, Richard.
Yes.
Well, since news is the third most popular thing,
Yeah.
shall we have some
News.
third most popular thing? Well, here it is then.
Here we are.
Some Gerry Anderson news.
Yeah.
We'll start with a bit of reflection on another sad recent loss. Our dear friend Richard Gregory.
Ah, yes.
Who passed away, gosh, a couple of months ago now. I mean, that's flown by. It's very strange to say that. Many of you may have seen a fantastic tribute to Richard in Doctor Who magazine, which we contributed to. Actually, I haven't, at this time of recording, I haven't seen it, but I've had emails and texts coming through saying what a fabulous tribute.
Yeah,
So,
great.
hope you've seen that.
Yeah.
Now, I've been in touch with Richard's family, and lots of you have also been asking how you can, make a donation or leave something in tribute to Richard in Richard's name. The family have chosen a charity called the Helen Foundation, which is a charity helping young people into sort of creative paths and on creative projects in Richard's local area near to where he lived in Dawlish. So if you would like to make a donation in Richard's name, we would love for that to happen. Anything you can spare, a couple of quid, 50p, fiver, tenner, whatever you can manage. If you've ever enjoyed anything that Richard Gregory did, whether it was the 80s Cybermen, work on Gerry Anderson shows, Walking with Dinosaurs, or you met him in person and thought, what a bloody lovely guy, then do go to thehelenfoundation.org.uk and you can make a donation directly there, and I think you can leave a little note to say that it's in memory of Richard Gregory. We would really appreciate that. So with Richard's family.
Yeah, lovely.
1970s Gerry Anderson sci-fi, Richard.
Oh, yes.
Now, most people would say UFO and Space 1999.
They would indeed.
But some people might say Into Infinity.
Ah.
And others still might say The Day After Tomorrow.
Right.
Both of which are titles of the same thing, The Day After Tomorrow / Into Infinity. A pilot episode for a sort of semi-educational sci-fi thing, which kind of was coexisting in the Space 1999 universe. Original version starring Joanna Dunham, Brian Blessed and Nick Tate.
Oh, yeah.
Now, last year, we released a novelisation of that pilot episode, written by Gregory Norris, which got some lovely reviews, but we are re-releasing it with a new cover, and accompanying that is the second book in the series, Planetfall. So, in the opener, it's basically, we join the lightship Altaris on its quest to find a new home for mankind. They get sucked into a black hole, and that's the end of the first one. I mean, I've ruined the ending of the first book.
You have, rather, yes.
If you've seen the pilot, you know that. So Planetfall is when they emerge and what happens next.
Oh, I see. So never seen before.
No,
all brand new.
All novelised by Gregory Norris.
Lovely.
So those will be available at the end of this month, and they will soon appear for pre-order on Amazon and elsewhere. So do have a look at those, and they've got really lovely, funky covers, haven't they? You've seen them.
Yes, I have. They're lovely. Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, stunning things.
Yeah.
So there you go. Nice way to expand the Gerry Anderson universe in a slightly unusual and lesser known project.
Yeah, we like a bit of that.
Parker.
Yes. Yes, my lady.
Nice, Richard. That's what I was hoping.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was a bit slow on the uptake.
Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. Parker is one of the most popular characters in the Gerry Anderson universe, voiced by the inimitable David Graham. And Big Chief, who would do those lovely little 6-scale replicas, replica characters, have launched the Parker replica figure launch pad on their website, sort of a Kickstarter style thing to say, here's a figure, do you want it?
Okay.
It's available to sort of it's kind of like a pre-order at this stage.
Yeah.
They need to hit, I think, 250 before they'll put him into production.
I see.
So do pop along there. We've seen the prototype, haven't we, Richard?
Yes,
and it
gorgeous.
Is absolutely stunning.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the best one they've done. Now, lots of you may have picked up the Scott or the Virgil figures. You may have pre-ordered Captain Scarlet or the other 3 Tracy brothers, which, as we mentioned in last week's podcast, have been delayed just as they've moved factory and trying to get things absolutely right. But Parker's timeline should be a little bit more certain. So go on the website and you see that the only two places you can pre-order are from Big Chief directly or from the Gerry Anderson store. We are the exclusive retail partner in the UK.
Quite
so
right too.
shop.gerryanderson.co.uk to pre-order your Parker and make sure that happens. Lots of you have been enjoying content on our YouTube channel.
I thought you were about to say.
No, I meant I definitely enjoyed. Some may have enjoyed too, but lots of you have enjoyed new content on our YouTube channel, including the Century 21 Tech Talk.
Yes.
Where Brains tells us all about vehicles from the 21st century. There's yet another live now, which is Thunderbird 3, and that joins the ranks of Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, the SPV from Captain Scarlet, and Fireball XL5.
Yes, all featuring, of course, again, the voice of the wonderful David Graham.
The inimitable David Graham, again. Yes, I know, it's amazing. Yeah. So do go along, subscribe to the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel. There are new videos every single week, youtube.com/GerryAndersonTV. And finally, listeners, I have a very special offer for you.
Cool.
Yeah, you can get 30% off our lovely little MEV replica vehicle.
Yes.
I forgot what the word beginning with V was. The MEV, which is the only vehicle to officially feature in Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, thus sort of joining the universes.
Yeah.
It's a great little piece by Planet Replicas, and at the time of writing, the time of speaking,
as we are now.
And at the time of recording, there are only 20 left.
Oh, be quick.
So grab one or they'll be gone forever. And I think they're down from $34.99 to $24.49, something like that.
Great. On the subject of merch.
Yes, Richard.
A few people have got in touch on Facebook to say, Abby, for example, says, great Anderson merch gods, please read this before deleting it. Well, we didn't delete it, Abby. I do strength and dance and would love to have some Thunderbird or Captain Scarlet themed leggings to rock away in. They don't have to be tacky. Maybe a logo on the hip or bottom of the legs, please. Fun idea.
Niche. It
is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, funnily enough, we have actually been looking into sort of tracksuit bottom type things. Leggings might be a bit specific for us, but yeah, we'll certainly look into it.
Yep. Isabel said, I'd like a decent looking adult size watch. Nowadays you can have customised backgrounds, so there could be a few pictures available, either logos or pictures of the main characters. Decent looking meaning that you can wear anywhere and not get stared at, although I suppose seeing Thunderbird 2 on someone's wrist could be a conversation starter.
Yeah, or a conversation finisher if they're not a Thunderbirds fan. Yeah, we could also look into that. No plans currently, but who knows.
And finally on this subject, Martin said, who would be interested in a Gerry Anderson loot crate? For those that don't know what a loot crate is, it's a subscription thing whereby you receive a parcel with random items in it, some rare, some not so rare, but all related to the wonderful world of Anderson. I think it'd be a great way to get a monthly, bi-monthly or quarterly gift surprise from all things Anderson. What about it? Seems there's a lot to choose from, says Martin.
Martin, that is a great idea, and that is something that we have investigated and are still investigating.
Lovely.
And right now, a quarterly Gerry Anderson loot box or whatever is probably the most likely thing, but not in the first half of this year. We'll be looking into it sort of towards the end of 2019.
Great.
But thank you for your suggestion, because it lets us know that we might be on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for that.
And that sort of nicely rounds out the news.
That was the news.
Voice of an angel. Thank you.
It's been said before. In jest, mainly.
Yeah. No, it's nice. And we don't even ask for merch suggestions necessarily.
Yeah.
We come flooding it, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So if you've got any ideas, do send them in. podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk.
Exactly.
Do you have any more tweets before we move on to one of our less popular or least popular sections?
It's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, Josh Long tweeted, he hashtagged us, hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast on Twitter, said, very peaceful day today at the in-laws house, listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast tribute to the iconic and legendary Shane Rimmer. What a lovely way to honour him, but he will live on in our hearts and memories as he's immortalised, not just in the Gerry Anderson universe. Philip said, ever considered inviting Janet Street Porter for the Gerry Anderson Podcast about Dick Spanner's inclusion in Network 7?
I can tell you now.
No.
Chances are that's never going to happen. And if you said Dick Spanner to her, she'd probably slap you. Not because she didn't like it, but because it would mean nothing to her.
Exactly.
And she might think you were trying to be offensive. So no, it's one of those things where these people have jobs like that, and they're not going to remember the particular programming from one show they did decades ago.
That's right.
But I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Janet Street Porter, if you're one of our listeners, I'm terribly sorry. Didn't realise you were a huge fan.
No, that's
get
right.
in touch.
Exactly. And also Simon got in touch on Facebook. This is saying, if we are addicted to Anderson stuff, does that make it the vice of the Podsterons?
Very
good, isn't it? You like
nice. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Very good, Simon. Thank you very much for that. In fact, that's a very appropriate moment, isn't it, to... hang on a minute. What are those green lights on the floor?
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Oh, that's what it was. Right, okay, fair enough.
That's a relief. It's just listening now.
So it is. So several Podsterons have written in.
Yeah.
From across the globe,
Oh,
Richard.
wonderful.
I'm waiting for our first non-terrestrial communication to come in, but, nowhere else in the universe right now.
Yeah, that's right. You did put out a call, didn't you, to anyone on board the ISS to send us an email?
Yes.
Could
hasn't
happen.
happened yet,
Yeah.
but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, we live in hope.
Anyway, so for our terrestrial but international Podsterons, here's the first one. Hello, Richard and Jamie.
Hello.
This is from Stephen Liu, who's a long-time listener living in Hong Kong.
Ah.
And he wants to say that he's loving catching up with our exploits every week. Unfortunately, I usually can only listen after it has gone out live because of work, but your banter and mix of articles make for a great podcast anytime, anywhere.
Oh,
thank you very
that's
much.
nice,
For the
isn't
review.
it? That's Martini, wasn't it? Anytime, anywhere?
I don't know, Richard, actually.
1970s commercial. Go on, sorry. I digress.
I'll go look it up on YouTube. The tribute to Shane Rimmer in today's Pod 42 was wonderfully done and a great celebration of a man who, for me, was the embodiment of my childhood in the 1960s as Scott Tracy. Shane's singular work and the incomparable voice and acting of Ed Bishop meant stand by for action because one was entering the amazing worlds of Gerry Anderson. To bring things more up to date, Chris Dale's work on the Randomiser is superb,
Hear, hear.
as our other Podsterons agree.
Yeah.
His remembrances and anecdotes on selected Anderson episodes are jolly good fun. But I have a question.
Oh.
For a segment that begs for visuals, it only goes out audio-based, much like a radio play. Is that the intent? Well, it's on a podcast, absolutely.
Yes.
The ability to see what Chris is describing would add that extra element of detail. Would this ever be considered? And also, here he sent a picture of his two latest Anderson purchases, which is a Joe 90 box set and the Captain Black pistol from the Anderson store.
Lovely, yes.
Proudly on display. And he thanks Tim from the store, who pretty much does everything there.
Yeah,
so yes,
great.
thanks Tim from us too. Anyway, signing off until your return next week, and that's from Stephen Liu.
Thanks,
from Hong
Stephen.
Kong. Stephen, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Now, on the visuals of the randomizer, we've certainly looked into it. There are potential copyright type restrictions which could become problematic. But I have discussed it with Chris, and it's something that we will possibly experiment with. Now, Chris puts a huge amount of effort into the randomizer, and doing a video version additionally is a lot more work for him.
Yeah.
So it may not work out timing-wise, but it's something that we will do once in a while. Stephen. So
a special
it's good
one-off.
idea. There are plenty of those types of videos on YouTube, and they're very, very popular.
You see,
so,
I have a feeling. In fact, we've spoken about this, haven't we? That maybe one day the three of us should sit down and watch the first episode of Space Precinct and do a sort of commentary and make that available online or something via YouTube, or I don't know if that were possible. But so that sort of thing would be fun. Interestingly, though, Stephen, you're the first person to ask that. It is, I think people rather enjoy the fact that it is audio only because, as they always say, the pictures are better on the radio, aren't they? And lots of these things are on YouTube to go and look at after the fact, perhaps. But it's just interesting that Stephen's the first person to ask. Yeah.
cheers. I suppose most of our Podsterons actually are kind of audiophiles who like listening to stuff and maybe aren't so keen on the video.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, hey, there we are.
We're trying to make sure everybody's entertained.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll certainly look into it.
That's right. I have an email here from Terry S, who says, "Hello again, gentlemen. It's Terry S from California here. Oh, lovely.
Hello, Terry S. again.
Bet it's lovely and warm out there. Hoping you are well. So many wonderful and much-deserved tributes to the great Shane Rimmer. The news still seems unbelievable. And Chris Dale, you were just superb. Strange that this week's Randomiser featured one Paul Starr, as I recently happened across an article about him over on the Security Hazard blog. Yes, something was clearly missing, and we know what and who that was. I really enjoyed the interview with Dirt Mags. He sounds like a supercar fan after my own heart. I found myself nodding along with so much of what he was saying. Well, except maybe one thing about Mike. Yes, that one. Poor old Mr. Mike. Weak face.
Well, it was, yes. If you don't remember, listeners, or you missed that one, Dirt was commenting on the fact that Mike sat in the supercar thing on a peg that went up his bottom, and the hole where the peg inserted gradually loosened over time.
Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Dirk had to tighten the hole with some loo roll. Anyway, that sounds terrible. Do carry on.
He goes
Richard.
on. May I ask a Dick Spanner question? All right. Is there a DVD edition that is either USA friendly or otherwise region free? Don't know whether this is something Shout Factory would have over here. The weekly podcast continues to grow and evolve, and we never quite know what to expect next from you two, only that it's bound to be fun. What more could a long-time Anderson file, and yes, Podsteron too, like me, wish for? Best as always, and that's from Terry. Thanks, Terry.
I suppose Terry might wish for a greater level of professionalism. Or,
No, never.
No. Well, I'm glad you're happy, Terry. On your Dick Spanner question, there is currently not a US-friendly version that I'm aware of, although the rights are available. So if you would like to see it from Shout Factory, do drop them a line. They love Anderson content, and we would love to give them Dick Spanner to do with what they wish.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Write them. Find them online, send them a message through their Facebook page or Twitter, or email them their customer support. And the more people who do that, the more likely it's going to happen.
Of course it is, yeah, that's great.
So there we go. I have an email from James McKenna.
Oh, yeah.
He says, Hi Richard and James.
Hey?
Now, either that's a typo,
Yeah.
or
it's just to me.
Or he's using the name that's on my birth certificate,
Oh,
because I'm technically a James.
oh, you know.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
I say interesting.
thanks, Richard. I recently had this thing where once a year I have to watch a certain number of TV episodes, and this year it was Thunderbirds Captain Scarlet, and for the first time watching, because I'd only heard about it on the podcast, The Secret Service, but also, of course, Stingray and Joe 90.
Oh, yeah.
But I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool if Lego made a series of sets on all things Gerry Anderson? I'd definitely buy Tracy Island and the SPV and the Zero X and the TX204. It's something I've had on my mind for a while. Also, something else I've had on my mind is, how did Gerry Anderson manage to get the military band at the end of the Thunderbirds Are Go credits to happen?
Oh,
Thanks from James McKenna.
thanks, James. Oh, good question.
Well, James, there are always Lego projects on their sort of crowdsourcing website for Thunderbirds, but I don't think they ever tend to get enough votes.
Yeah.
Partly because there's so many different projects all spread across and there's no one coordinating them. Partly because for some reason, I don't know why, Lego and ITV never seem to have any merchandise ties. I don't know
Right.
why that is.
Yes.
They may just be something where they don't like working together, or they can't work together for some reason.
Yeah.
So it would have been great to see lots of Lego sets, but sadly didn't happen. In terms of the band, that was the Royal Marines Marching Band, I believe, that played the end credits. They just thought it would be really, really cool to have a military version, and I think they were just going to get them to record it. And then somebody suggested, why don't we actually film them on parade doing it and make that the end credits? I mean, it's a bit weird to cut from a puppet movie
Yes.
out to live action. Military band marching around, and then creating the words "the end" to be filmed from above.
Yes.
But it's quite a sweet thing. And we played that particular version at Dad's funeral at the very end, because it was all, funerals can be very, very somber affairs, completely understandably. And I thought, what better way than at the end of a kind of period of reflection and quite a sad service to have the leader of this marching band shout, "Thunderbirds, go!" And then off we go. And it was lovely. It was the perfect thing to walk out to.
Yeah, nice.
There's another little fab fact.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very good. Talking of Legos, I'm sure I saw someone on Twitter or Facebook ask, wouldn't it be a great thing if there were a Lego Thunderbirds movie? Like they're doing the Lego movies at the moment, Batman and so on. That'd be rather fun, wouldn't it?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Lego and Thunderbirds...
Even less likely.
Well, yes, I know. But they do seem to go together very well, don't they? It is something that you can absolutely see on the shop shelves.
Absolutely, and the people like the Brickish Association, who do a lot of Lego Thunderbirds, Lego Gerry Anderson stuff, they do some beautiful models, beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
so
great.
Let's hope that one day it does happen.
Yeah. Last one for today. This one is from Matthew Alderman Harris, who says, "Hello, Jamie and Richard."
Hello, Matthew.
Yeah, hi. I'm really enjoying the podcast. I've been listening since pod 1. Wow, well done you. It makes me look forward to Monday. Oh, that's nice. My favourite segments are Fab Facts. Sorry, Richard.
Yes!
And the Randomiser. I also regularly watch Fab Live and love Fab or Fib and blankety blank.
Oh, well done, Richard.
You've just gone up in my estimation there, Matthew. I was lucky enough to meet Jamie at the Firestorm premiere back in October. I remember being totally starstruck as he signed a copy of his father's biography for me. I look forward to seeing the full series. More recently, I went to the Thunderbirds event at Mersey Island and met Shane Rimmer and Matt Zimmerman. It was amazing to meet both of them. I was devastated to hear about Shane Rimmer passing away. I was so lucky to have had the honour of meeting him. He had such an iconic voice and will forever be remembered as Scott Tracy. What a legend. My thoughts are with Shane's family and friends at this time. I also have a question for you, says Matthew. Which Gerry Anderson vehicle is your favourite and why? My favourite Gerry Anderson vehicle is Thunderbird 2 because I love its pod system concept. Kind regards, Matthew. I'd be very grateful if this email is read out in the next podcast. Thank you. Your wish is our command, Matthew. Yeah, so favourite vehicles.
Well, Thunderbird 2 is a great choice.
Of course it is.
And seems to be the obvious one.
I mean, in a way,
That's
you have to
the
put
one I
that
would
to one
choose.
side, don't you? Because,
Oh, do you,
well,
Richard?
because that is going to be the one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really will be. I mean, I think my second favourite then is the Overlander from Terrorhawk.
Okay.
Giant land train, and it just the way it moved.
Yeah.
You know, massive over-the-top suspension on the wheels going over the top of anything, and the great sound effects of this sort of vast-sounding diesel engine roaring.
Yeah.
Overlander from Terrorhawk.
In
What
fact,
about you,
here it
Richard?
comes now. Could you hear it? That's the bin lorry outside my window here. Well, I'm going to stay close to home. I always do, I'm afraid. But I love the Space Precinct Police Cruiser. I think it's a beautiful design. And I love the fact, you know, when you see it in action, it's weathered and it's dirty. It looks like it's been through stuff. And I love the way sometimes it's shot so that it sort of twists and turns. It's quite a dynamic little thing. And a lovely little design, I think.
Well, there you go. Both vehicles in our choices designed by Steve Begg.
Well, there we are. Who I saw the other night in a bar. Under entirely innocent circumstances, I hasten to add.
That's what you say.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Great. So thanks for that. If you'd like to get in touch with us, just drop us a line at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk and we'd love to hear what you have to say and particularly send us your audio files. Just record a little message, no more than a minute long, 30 seconds to a minute on your phone, pop it in an email and send it to us and we'll play it out in the next podcast. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Leave us a nice rating and a nice review and share us with your friends so they get to listen too.
Yeah, that's fine. And if your rating and review are 5 stars and the fact that you love it and it's brilliant and you're having a great time listening, then wonderful.
Yeah.
But equally, you know, even if it's 1 star and you think we're pretty rubbish, then...
Well, it's
that's
useful
fine
to know,
too.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to know. So
Yeah.
I'm not encouraging people to, you know, write 1-star
It
reviews.
wouldn't
but
be that useful.
But whatever you want to say, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So, having done the listeners' emails and having done FAB Facts and a bit of news, I think it's perhaps time for everyone's first favourite item of the podcast. What do we have this week?
We have some lovely archive audio from 1992, chat with Derek Meddings, with some inserts from me for context. Yeah, I mean, it's great to have long-lost members of the Anderson clan on the podcast.
Yeah.
And obviously Derek was an absolute master of special effects. So, yeah, here's Derek Meddings.
Great.
Derek Meddings first began his association with Gerry Anderson as an art department assistant on Torchy the Battery Boy, before becoming a key part of the effects department on Supercar and Fireball XL5, becoming special effects director on Stingray, and finally special effects supervisor from Thunderbirds onwards. And it's at that point in his career where we join him in this interview, which was recorded in April 1992.
When we were doing the attack of the alligators, we had a selection. We had 4-foot crocodiles, we had a 5-foot one. We had 2 5-foot ones, but one was a caiman, and it came down from a place up in the Midlands, this man who ran a miniature zoo or whatever it was, and it came down in a big laundry basket, a wicker laundry basket. And I opened up the lid to have a look at this thing, and it opened up its mouth and it hissed at me, and I shut the lid and I said, we're not going to use that one. Because the others were all quite docile. This one was really vicious. And so we left him in the wicker basket and had him shipped back. But we had one which was 5 foot and quite docile, and we had a shot where it had to be a point of view from whoever was in the boat, I can't remember. They were going down through the swamps, and all of a sudden they look out the back of the boat. They see this crocodile, this alligator coming towards them, and it's enormous because the potion has gone into the swamp, and all the alligators have grown to enormous proportions. And we had to do this point of view. So we had this big tank that we used to use for sea shots, had the camera very low, and I had the crocodile with a rope round its neck, around its front arm, paws, legs, whatever you call them, and I was pulling it, and I had the rope was under the water, coming towards the camera, going through a screw eye, and I was in the tank in the corner, pulling it at an angle, and I could actually get quite a bit of, purchase on it, and I had to keep the rope in the tank, so I had to be in the tank, and I was pulling this crocodile, and it would surface because I was pulling it so fast, and the rope also was at such an angle that it had to come up towards the surface. And the crocodile would come through the water because it would never open its mouth, and that's what we wanted it to do, open its mouth. And it would come towards the camera, and I'd come right up to the camera and I'd say, okay, shh, cut. And I would try to think, how the hell can we make this thing open its mouth? It just doesn't look very frightening. Anyway, we were going for another take, and it still didn't do anything. I thought that when it got really close to the camera it might get cross, but it didn't. And I think we'd done about 6 takes, and I was in these big thigh waders, and I was standing in the tank, and I said to the crew, I said, okay, come on, we'll have one more go. So I pulled the rope to sort of feel the tension on the rope, and I pulled the rope, and I pulled the rope, and I pulled the rope, and there's no tension. The crocodile had come off. He's now swimming around the tank, and it was so murky and green because we put all the dye and it had to look like a swamp. I couldn't see it. Well, as soon as I realised it was off the rope, I leapt out that tank, and everybody said that I did a vertical takeoff and landed on the concrete floor, still in the boots. And I do know I cleared that tank very quickly. And then we had to go round prodding the tank with a stick, trying to find the crocodile. But we had this one that came off in the water. There was really no need to be frightened of it, because after that we used to lay it on damp rags and stick a 10K lamp shining on it to keep it warm. And people used to step over this thing, and it didn't move. Mm. And they were, 5 foot. Mm. Even the baby ones at 3 foot, they were a hell of a handful. I was holding one right behind the neck just before we were about to do a shot, and the electrician said to me, Derek, why don't you let me hold that, and you get behind the camera. And I said to Nick, do you know how to hold these crocodiles? He said, yeah, of course I do. So I said, all right. So I took my hand away, he put his hand in, the crocodile turned around and bit him. And we had to prise the crocodile's mouth open. He snapped him on the hand. He just got him in the wrong... I let go a little bit too soon. But the set, because of the speed we were shooting, the set got so hot that the poor crocodiles, we didn't realise at first that they were on the set and they were doing one of these, and the set was so hot that they couldn't bear to walk on it. And we had no idea it was that hot. Yeah. And we had him. Yeah, we had the crocodile, and it was to open the mouth, and we had it on a T-bar, and I was pushing it through the water or pulling it, and this time I was out of the water, and we had 12 volts, and we put the 12 volts through it, and it was just connected to its legs, and it didn't do anything. And then we upped the voltage, and then somebody reported us, and that's when the RSPCA man arrived. And in the end, he was saying, oh, no, you can give them 36 volts. We give them more than that. We didn't have the means to up the voltage on the batteries we were using, so I said to the electrician, what have we got that works off DC. He said, we got 110 DC. He said, why don't we try that? Jeez. So I thought, well, I know it's not going to kill him, 110 DC. So when the RSPCA man was, wherever he was either on the other stage watching the puppets. We gave this poor old alligator 110 DC, and he opened his mouth, and when we switched off, he shut his mouth. And that's how we got the shot.
So after Thunderbirds was Captain Scarlet.
I like Captain Scarlet.
I think the main headache there, but not really your problem, was the puppets, because they were smaller.
Yes, the people couldn't identify one from the other, because their heads were now in proportion with their bodies.
Yeah, difficult to move.
Yeah, shame. I like those.
What, the puppets?
Well, I thought they were really very convincing miniature people. Not that they still couldn't walk and do things properly, but you know, the puppets with the big heads, I know they're probably more appealing sort of to the general public, but that was the only thing that you couldn't totally believe, really. People had these big heads. But then, again, when the puppets were done with scaled heads, people couldn't identify one from the other. I suppose the heads were so small that they didn't have any character to their faces.
That's it.
And I don't know whether the series was designed like Captain Scarlet, Captain Black, because you couldn't identify them, so you had to have them in different coloured uniforms. But I felt we were getting more towards live action, and I suppose that was because the puppets were in scale. And I haven't seen that series since it was made, and I'm sure there's some great work in it.
But how did Derek solve these problems? Well, here he is discussing his method, and a lot of it involved his subconscious.
I sort of log it somewhere in my mind, knowing that I will come up with the idea, and I will be thinking about it continually. And even the same thing happens now if I'm working on a film. I'll go to bed and I'll lay there and I'll be thinking and to a point where I can't go to sleep. And if I get a night like that, then I usually have to pop a little pill sometimes so that I just go out. Otherwise, I know I'm going to spend the whole night trying to work out how to do this damn job. But if I do have this problem and I keep it in my mind, it's funny. I may be driving to work, or I may be cooking something, and all of a sudden, I got it. And really, it comes to fruition because of a train of thought. I'm thinking of an idea, and I think, oh no, that won't work because I can't hide this, and it leads to other things. I do remember one episode, and I think it was the first one, where they had this car park. In the script, it said you follow the SPV down the car park, and I thought, how the hell am I going to follow this SPV down this? Because I can't get a camera that's going to go around and drop. So, do you know how I did it? Revolved the tower and kept the vehicle still. And we had this vehicle, and I can't for the life of me remember how the vehicle was actually kept in position. But it was kept in position by, I think it was a wire over the back, because, you know, it was a spiral, wasn't it? Yeah. So I had the moving backing behind it, slowly moving, and rotated the tower and kept the vehicle still. So the camera was still. I mean, even nowadays it would be difficult to do that shot if you had to have a camera that went round. No, it drove forwards, but the driver sat backwards.
Yeah.
Idiot. I don't know why I did that. That was another Gerry's idea, but...
Yeah?
Yeah, I couldn't see the point of that. Never could. Yeah, it was different, but I mean, you never knew. And the thing that confused people, that when you saw through the window, the scenery was going the wrong way.
Yeah.
And that totally confused people, so we didn't play too much on that. But I liked the SPV. The SPV was another one of my designs that I felt could be filmed from any angle.
Yeah.
And the other thing I liked was the Angel Fighters. And I actually designed those on the way to New York. Gerry had given Bob Bell and I, we'd worked so hard on a series that our little sweetener was that he sent us to New York for 5 days, I think we went. And I remember sitting on the plane and I was doodling, and I knew I had to come up with the Angel Fighter, and I was just doodling away, and that's where it actually came from. Oh, that's where I got the idea for the design.
Yeah.
And again, it was just a case of trying to think of something different, hence the wings that came down into, like, the wheels, really. You know, they landed on those,
Yes.
and they had the suction pads.
Go down like that.
Yeah. Actually, I designed something which, if I'd have put it the other way around, I could have got £10,000 in the Gulf... No, not the Gulf War, the Falklands campaign, was it? A naval officer came up with the ramp at the end of the aircraft carriers that the jump jets were launched from. I had it the other way round. Mine came up, and they came in and landed on it,
Right.
and stuck to it, and then the ramp went down, remember?
Yes. The Thunderbird 2 had the ramp, didn't it? The
That's
takeoff.
true, it did. Maybe he got the idea from there. You're right, Thunderbird 2 used to be launched like that.
It always amazed me how this huge monster could get off the ground with such a short takeoff at such a steep angle.
Had a lot of power.
Yeah.
A lot of power. And it usually meant a very strong arm.
Yeah.
God, that was an awful thing to fly. People used to hate it.
So where were you usually on the set when these shots were done? Were you up there? Were you
No, behind the camera.
What's behind
Usually not always looking through, but right up beside the camera. And that's where I am today when I'm doing any miniature shot. I can't be... There were a couple of occasions when I went up and flew it, because I thought I could do it better than somebody else. And it was always a challenge then that I had to do it. But usually I had people. Some of my lads were really steady-handed and good.
Yeah.
And they had a feel for it too. And you had to have a feel for it. You couldn't just lift the thing off and push it forward. You had to pretend you were flying it. And they used to make noises too. You'd say, right, action, they'd go... and it just used to happen. They didn't, it was one of those things it's like listening to music in the background, I suppose, while you're doing whatever you may be doing. And when you're a kid, you get a little toy and you push it along, you make the noises. We were doing that. We were just big kids. Well, they were all my designs, but I think that was written into the script that it was like an aircraft carrier in the sky, which I thought was a novel idea.
Yeah.
But again, it didn't really get used that much.
There was a dream sequence where it fell out of the sky and crashed.
The Angel Fighters, I thought, was good. They were good. I like those. They were good things to fly. And the other one that I thought was good was the submarine with the aircraft on the front.
UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that was Joe 90.
Yeah. I did the Joe 90 car. I didn't like Joe 90 and I didn't like Secret Service. There were two, to me, they didn't have anything really.
Derek there being a man after my own heart where it comes to Joe 90, although I'm not sure I agree on the Secret Service. Anyway, he then moved on to Dad's first live-action show, UFO. Unfortunately, we've glossed over Doppelganger in this interview, but that's just the nature of these archive things. But Derek did like a lot of things about UFO, and here he is discussing those.
Yeah, the submarine was, what was it called? Shadow, wasn't it?
Skydiver.
Skydiver. I can't even remember the name. I like that. That was another one of my favourite designs, and I loved in particular the aircraft that came off the front, Sky One, because that was a real chunky thing. And I suppose it's like I was saying, this Apache helicopter. That was probably the nearest I ever got to making something look a bit meaty. And it wasn't a pretty-looking thing, but it flew well and it looked good in the sky. We always tried to improve it and make it look more believable, whatever we could do. And it was all down to money and and time mainly.
The UFOs themselves were a particularly troublesome element for Derek, and here he is talking about the various problems and how they tried to solve them, although not always successfully.
Yeah, they used to get out of true bloody things and used to wobble like hell, and we'd spend hours trying to true them up again. You know, they were so delicate, they were so light and delicate, and I didn't particularly like them, but I didn't know what else to do for a design. And I thought if I had these paddles on the side that revolved, then there would always, as you have to light the set, there would always be this flashing which would confuse the eye.
Yeah.
And they were split. So the top was perspex, which was held by 4 wires, and it was the bottom that revolved. The top never revolved at all. And that was the only way to keep it static, and the motor inside was fixed at the top and spun the bottom with the paddles, you know, that used to go around. And then, of course, you had to fly them, and the problem was that once you went, if they were flying horizontal, but the minute you tried to bank one like that, that's when they usually stopped running, because the bottom part and the top, they were only held by a spindle, and the weight on the bottom there, we used to sort of make the bottom part of the UFO touch the top part. You see what? Hard to explain, but
No, I didn't.
and then it would stop rotating. Oh, God, blimey. Yeah, I thought we did some great stuff on that. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Another very popular design element from UFO was the shadow mobiles, and here Derek talks about collaborating with another well-known name from the Gerry Anderson universe.
In actual fact, Michael Trim was... he contributed a lot to that vehicle. We sort of sometimes did things bits and pieces, you know. I would draw the tracks, and he would draw a part of the body, like the cockpit or something, and then he would, or I would draw it all out totally, you know, before it was finally made. I mean, we had this great thing, him and I. He was such a good artist. No, that thing was great. And some of the settings we put it into, we really went to town and built the woods, and we used real trees, as I always used to anyway, but...
Juniper.
Yeah.
Stolen from Burnham Beaches.
Yeah, well, we used to get permission sometimes.
Bob Bell got caught.
He got caught and fined, yes. But he was nicking it for his set, not mine.
Yeah.
I mean, my boys were special effects. We were a little cleverer than him.
So what happened at the end of UFO, and why did Derek Meddings and Gerry Anderson part ways? Well, here's Derek to explain.
At the end of UFO?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the studio closed down then.
Yeah.
And having had this safe job for all these years, we were now all unemployed, and panic set in. And I went to Denmark and worked on a film with a production designer called Tony Masters, who was a production designer on 2001. And that was really the end of my association with Gerry. He started, what was it? Space 1999.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know, I think I was working on the Bond films then. Well, I worked on a film at Bray which was called Fear is the Key, and it was a great little film, and it was meant to be shot, it was about the American Mississippi area and the oil wells, and it's Alistair McLean's story of the DC-9, is it the Dakota, that was laden with gold, and the man and wife were flying it, and it crashed, it went into the sea, and these people had this bathyscaphe, or they stole this bathyscaphe from one of the oil wells, oil derricks out at sea, and they knew where it was roughly. And that was the story. They went down to hunt for the gold, but they'd actually stolen this thing and killed people in the process. And the production designer was Sid Kane, and he was responsible for the Bond. He'd done the Bond films up to that particular point as production designer, and I was doing the miniatures and the effects on this film. I had a lot of underwater effects to do, to show the Dakota on the seabed and the bathyscaphe, which I actually filmed myself. I got into a wetsuit and did it myself. I had a cameraman who set the camera up. I just went down and operated the camera. And on that particular film, we did quite a few clever things. Like there was a shot of one of the divers going down, inspecting the leg of the oil derrick. And they couldn't get a real diver to do it. And we didn't have a tank big enough to build anything. We didn't have the money. So I did it at a miniature. And he had these little backpacks on. I used to fill them up with Alka-Seltzer tablets. And he liked the work so much and was so convinced by it, he said to me, I'm doing the next Bond film. How'd you like to do the effects? And that's how I started.
And which one was that? Which Bond?
That was the first one with Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Which was Live and Let Die.
Mm.
And then I did 5 Bond films.
Fantastic.
And in between that I did Superman, and I won my Oscar for Superman 1. And the BAFTA, which was the first time BAFTA had ever given an award to special effects people. And really, you know, after leaving Gerry, or after us departing, because I don't think either one of us left one another, really. He got Brian Johnson, who used to be my one of my assistants. And actually, when Brian left to go on 2001, Gerry swore that he would never work in the film industry again. But he did, and he went from strength to strength. Mm. But Brian did Space 1999. He was the the special effects supervisor on it. Right. I think I can't remember. I think it was because I was doing a Bond film, and then I'd go on to Superman, and then next Bond film. Yeah. And I got a nomination from the American Academy for Moonraker. And one of the other Bond films, I was put up for a nomination, but I didn't get it. So I got a nomination for one of the Bond films. I got the Oscar for the Superman. So the Bond films were good to work on. They were fun. Also, I used to travel the world. I mean, it was a luxury that Cubby used to bestow on us when we went anywhere. Mm. You know, it wasn't a case of... yes, we were heads of departments, the people who went on the location recce's, but we were put in the best hotels. Mm. We'd be in probably the same hotel as Cubby Broccoli, and we'd have the same type of suite. We used to fly in first class with Cubby, and oh boy, they were days. They were great.
That'd be good for you though.
Well, it spoils you in the end, because at the end of it all, you know, you find that you can't afford to stay in these hotels, and you can't afford to fly first class unless Cubby Broccoli's paying. Yeah. But we used to do some trips. We went all the way from Los Angeles right down to Rio, and out to the jungles at Tikal, to the temple in the Tikal near Belize, Guatemala. Saw some fantastic places, to the Iguazu, the waterfalls. Well, I did all kinds of pictures. I've worked on Spies Like Us with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, and then I did, unless I had the list here, I forget them, but I did Never Ending Story Part 2 in Germany. Went out there and worked for 7 months. Then I worked on a film in Italy, Hudson Hawk, with Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello. The last thing I did was Cape Fear with Robert De Niro. I did all the miniatures on that. The film was shot in America, and I did the miniatures here in England. And it was the last part of the film when the boat's going down the rapids in this horrendous rainstorm. And finally the boat breaks up. And the underwater sequence that I shot in the tank at Shepperton, again in quite a small tank. I mean, I was crammed up against the side of the tank, and by the time we got the boat in there and the rocks, I could hardly get the camera in. But again, it was just because, you know, all these things have to be done for a budget, you know, for a figure.
So Derek had a pretty amazing career, but when asked to look back on the Thunderbirds, and particularly whether or not the show could be remade at that time in 1992, here's what Derek had to say.
No, you couldn't repeat it. No. I mean, if you did a series now, then maybe 30 years from now, that series may be. But the thing is, Thunderbirds, when it was made, it was as popular then as it is now. It's probably more popular now. Because we have two generations, don't we? We have all us oldies who loved it as kids, and some of us even worked on it. And then you had the generation that we were making it for. Now we've got this new generation of kids that are watching it.
Yeah, loving it.
No, I don't think it could be made again. I mean, I was once asked at a seminar if it could, and I said I thought it could, but having given it a lot of thought, I don't know if you'd get anybody to work the way we worked. I mean, we were like maniacs, rushing around, tearing around. Well, I think it was a lot of people who wanted to be in the film industry. Certainly, I can't speak for the puppet side of it, because I had very little to do with the puppets, except when they had to fire a gun, I'd send somebody over to load up a gun. But certainly my side of it, people out of the industry knew of special effects, and it was a golden opportunity for people to get into the film industry. So their way in was through me, and they're still in the film industry because they're good, and the bad ones just disappeared. But I mean, I can name them, you know, like the one who's in charge of all the effects, Peter Ragg, you know, he was one of my lads.
And he's now at where?
He's the BBC, head of BBC Special Effects. And then there's Brian Johnson, who did the Star Wars pictures. There's Ian Scoons. There's John Evans, who has done lots of big pictures, but he worked on Batman, did the floor effects on Batman. And there were so many, you know, there was Georgie Gibbs, who was one of my lads, and he's, you know, special effects supervisor. And Richard Conway. I've run out. I could use up both my hands with all these people that worked at Century 21. Then there's Dave Lane, who's had his own production company.
Roger Woodburn.
Yeah. In actual fact, people like Dave and Roger did better than I did. They went off into something else. I think I should have done the same thing, really.
And did Derek look back fondly on those days at Century 21?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, I give credit to Les Bowie, because Les Bowie put me into the position that I'm in today, really. He taught me everything, and I learnt from him, and I was able to go off and do the Thunderbirds series totally on my own, full of confidence, and to gather a lot of people around me who hadn't got a clue about effects or anything. They had to be led by me. But they learnt very quickly. They became indispensable, as far as I'm concerned, for the period of time that we were doing Thunderbirds. And as I said, most of them are still in the film industry, and when the film industry is doing well, so are they. And they're highly respected technicians. Well, it was great. Yeah. I mean, I got on with all of them. Bob Bell and I used to have our little arguments, because he used to be the production designer on the puppets, and I would be doing the effects, and I would design a craft with a cockpit that he couldn't make full size. And he'd go bloody balmy. He used to accuse me of trying to... Jokingly, because we were great mates. But we used to have our little run-ins once in a while, you know. He used to say, "You design this bloody cockpit." He said, I can't get a compound curve on the perspex like you've done. Mine is 3 foot across, and yours is just, you know, sort of 1 inch or 2 inches. And so we used to go through this. But no, we were all great mates, really. Puppeteers were sort of a breed apart, really. I don't think they they were puppeteers from the old school that had to be sort of, they were seaside puppeteers, you know. Now they were really getting into sophisticated, where we didn't want to see the wires. Well, they didn't want to see the wires, but the puppeteers thought that the wires were a part of the show, really, you know. These weren't supposed to be real little people. They were puppets, and you wanted to see the strings. And, of course, Gerry did everything he could to lose the strings. And then they had these voice-activated mouths. You know, originally they were sort of pulled up on a string, and they went up, 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 up. Now they were lip sync operated. Yeah, they were a different type of person. They weren't, and I'm not being derogatory, they weren't film people, the puppeteers. They were really theatre people. All the others were just mad film people. You know, we just wanted to make films.
Finally, to round out the chat, Derek was asked what he thought the secret of Century 21's success was. You might think that his answer could be about the technical side, the storytelling, the characters, but actually it was much more about the enthusiasm of the people who worked there.
Well, it was just purely and simply people's enthusiasm, and also if you're being led by somebody who's enthusiastic, and then underneath him there are other people who are enthusiastic, and my enthusiasm was because I set out trying to prove what I knew I could do, and that was that I could create miniature effects that people wouldn't know were miniatures. And that was my driving force. And the people working under me, because I ended up with 3 stages, and I forget how many people I had. I had something like 50 people working for me, possibly more. And I installed in them this enthusiasm, and the thrill of it was when you went to Rashes the following day, you saw it on the screen. And then, I'm not saying that every shot we did on Thunderbirds was perfect, because there were often reasons why it wasn't. Like, we ran out of time, we ran out of money, and we ran out of patience, or whatever.
Trying to do the impossible.
Yes, and we couldn't do it in the... But there certainly was this driving enthusiasm, and you had to be young and ambitious and stupid.
Well,
to work in all that filth all day long.
Well done, Jamie. Lovely.
Well, it wasn't me. I mean, I didn't do the interview. But,
yeah, nice stuff in there.
Recorded just 3 years before he died as well.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, so many positive and happy recollections from his time doing those shows.
Yeah.
And clearly, just, you know, one of those guys who is an absolute genius in the way that he thinks about how to do things.
Yes.
The same trait that you see in people like Brian Johnson and Steve Begg.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we were just saying, weren't we, how sad it was that we both really never got to meet him, did we? Because he was a little bit before my time. You know, when I was doing Space Precinct, working with your dad and so on, he was sort of off the picture a bit.
Although I bet you he was around.
Yeah, you reckon?
But he probably would have gone to visit people like Steve Begg at Shepperton, even though he would have maybe been working at Pinewood.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, I think I may have met him when I was very young.
Yeah.
Great shame not to be able to absorb more information from someone like Derek.
Yeah.
But there you go, at least we've got these great recordings.
Absolutely right, yeah, lovely to hear from them. And so well done, that was fantastic. Very good. Who do we have next week? Any ideas?
I haven't got a clue, to be quite honest. No, got a few interesting people lined up.
Yeah.
But
it's all about when they're available and so on, and trying to fit people into your schedule and things, I suppose.
Just haven't had enough time recently.
No, exactly.
So,
that's all right.
Anyway, there you go.
That's
I hope you enjoyed that interview. Do let us know what you thought on Twitter, #Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Yeah, now we're just about to head into Chris Dale's marvellous randomiser. Elliot got in touch on Twitter to say 2 episodes of Lavender Castle from Chris Dale's randomiser in a row. That's right, this was a couple of weeks back. What are the chances, he says? Only on the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Anyway, I figured I'd buy the DVD for it, and I decided I'd get my act together and get the Space Precinct box set as well. You're welcome,
right,
Richard
too.
James. It's not that I get any money from it, but thank you very much.
Yeah, but you get recognition, Richard.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing.
Payment enough, that's right, yeah. Yeah, so lovely. Also on our Facebook group, I'm very glad to see that Ian Jacklin has been posting his I've got a potato that looks like Officer Orin picture. I don't know if you've seen that, it's worth a look.
I have seen Ian Jacklin's potato.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Ian. Yeah.
And again, Podsterons, if you have a vegetable that looks like a Gerry Anderson vehicle or character, then do post them on the listeners' Facebook group.
It's a nice safe place to keep them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, so shall we move on to the Podsterons' second favourite item then, in that case?
Yes, let's do that.
It's Chris Tayl's Randomiser.
What are you doing here?
Oh, hello, Balor. I'm just quietly worrying next to this airlock. You see, it's been nearly 20 weeks now since we last had an episode from that show on the Randomiser, and I just know that sooner or later, probably sooner, he'll be back. Have you seen his show? He's insane.
Is he? Who are you to judge what is sane and what is not? Surrender to the exquisite forces of pain and suffering.
No thanks, I'd really rather put off watching another episode of Torchy for as long as possible. But, unfortunately, it's not up to me. It's up to the old Randomiser here, and I have a really bad feeling about today.
This equipment, though, has possibilities. Possibilities that will amaze you. Perhaps I can help you.
Well, I'm sure I could do worse than accept help from a ruthless, sadistic maniac, so please, by all means, press the button for me. So, dare I even ask what you're hoping the Randomiser will produce this week?
Scenes of terror, torture, chaos, destruction. And it will get worse.
Can't imagine how it could possibly be any worse than this. We have indeed landed on another episode of Torchy.
Time's up.
Yes, so it would appear. Well, that just means I'm fully justified. In doing that. Can't believe he fell for that one again. Yes, anyway, we're back with Torchy for the building of Fruit Town. No, it's no good, I can't do it. Balor! Balor, I want to come with you! Balor, please! I seem to be made to suffer. It's my lot in life. Whoever it is out there who has evidently got a voodoo doll of me, can you please lay off with the pins? Can you just do someone else for a while? I suppose I've been lucky. Like I said, it has been quite a while since we had this. This is episode 4 of Torchy the Battery Boy. Directly following on from the very first Torchy we saw on the Randomiser, in the very first Randomiser, which was Torchy and Squish. This is a direct continuation of the thrilling storyline of that episode. Building of Fruit Town, here we go.
High up in the sky, there's a big twinkling star.
Oh, she still hasn't got the science part right.
Where you can do whatever
It's
you want.
not a
The
star.
lost toys live there, as well as.
I mean, it looks like a star. No, it looks like a Christmas ornament. It always looks like a Christmas ornament.
I do love living here, but sometimes I wish I could see my master, Mr. Bumbledrop. I'm sure he must be lonely without me.
Who are you talking to? And filling in all the backstory to?
Torchy! Hello, Torchy!
Torchy belongs to Mr. Bumbledrop too.
Oh,
The old
okay.
man made him and put him back
We're having an extended flashback sequence here.
and do all the things the real boys do.
Very ropey looking stock footage
Panting like that, Pom-Pom.
from the first episode.
Hot, and dogs always pant when they're hot.
Well, come and sit next to me, and I'll stroke your ears and tell you a story.
Okay. Yeah. This was back in the 1950s when you could say things like that to people in public places.
Bumbledrop is.
I'm sure he's missing you. That's why he made a rocket for me, so that I could fly up here and bring you back.
And that's why we're still sat here 3 days later, or 3 episodes later, having not
Then I
done
must
that
find
thing.
some cardboard to mend it. I won't let you mend your tiggle-toggle. I want you to stay with me. That sounds like Flopsy. She must be hiding. Where are you?
Flopsy came out from behind a bush. When she lived on Earth, she belonged to a naughty girl called
another
Bossy
recap.
Boots.
Was the continuity of this show really so dense that we needed a recap?
She words and says iggly-oggly ones instead.
Iggly-oggly, okay.
You've got to stay here, Torchy. I love you, and I want you to be my piggle.
Oh, okay.
Torchy's not your best.
Underrated, lost Gerry Anderson love story here, evidently. I didn't realise she loved him.
Friends with a rag doll that's always falling down.
I don't fall down.
I bet she's going to fall down now.
Torchy, put some more stuffing inside me. I can stand up all the time.
You're going to fall down. There she goes! Oh, who didn't see that coming?
My stuffing because it's my hair. Give me back my hair.
Oh God, we're still on this, threatening to disembowel the rag
Why
doll.
can't you be friends and live happily together?
It's good to see some things never change.
Together when we've nowhere to live.
Gosh, I never thought of that. But you're quite
I've been here 4 episodes now, and I've only just realised I don't have anywhere to live.
We don't need houses, Torchy. The sun is always shining on Topsy-Turvy Land, and nobody has to go to bed unless they want to.
The sun will never set on Topsy-Turvy Land. We'll all be here,
Sleep sometimes.
spreading our evil
I've made up my mind.
forever and ever and ever, Torchy.
Give you so much work to do, you won't have any time for quarrelling. I'll go and see if Pillywig the Clown can help us.
Oh no, that's okay. Please don't. If you need the help of a clown to achieve anything, it's probably not worth doing.
Hello, Pillywig. I want to talk to you.
Although, granted, Pillywig is probably like the 5th least creepy resident of Topsy-Turvy Land.
See,
That's right.
And I think at this point in the series, actually, there are only 5, so he's doing quite well.
let me think.
That's right. And what comes after T?
Afters?
L-M-N-O-P-Q-R-S-T-U.
That's wrong.
No, it isn't. You tell me what comes after T.
Oh, please say I'm not in sync with the clown on the sense of humour thing.
Supper, of course.
Oh, no.
Yes, I am, aren't I?
So my sense of humour is now on par with this abomination. I think I need to rethink my life.
Come on now. Come on. Laugh at me.
Won't you stop it, Flopsy? We've got work to do. Will you help us build some houses, Pillywig?
Of course I will. Oh, let's go and find some bricks.
There aren't any bricks on Topsy-Turvy Land. No bricks?
Well, not since you threw them all through Mr. Bumbledrop's
My
window.
magic beam. Magic beam that is so bright, will you shine your lovely light? Answer my question and don't play tricks. We want to build houses, so shine on some bricks.
Torchy pressed the switch on his jacket, and there was a noise like a blue bottle on the window pane.
Again with that description of Torchy's magic lamp.
Danced straight to an orchard.
God, he's looking straight at the camera. What?
But the fruit wasn't ordinary fruit. Oh, no.
Oh, good.
The apples and the cherries and the pineapples were simply enormous.
So enormous I can't actually see them. Oh, okay.
Your beam isn't magic after all.
Behind the trees.
You asked it to find some bricks for us, and instead it's found some fruit.
We can't build houses out of cherries and pineapples.
Of course.
String him up!
I'm going to top
False
down
promises!
and live inside it. You can't live inside a pineapple. It's full of fruit. Then I'll scoop out the fruit.
That's what I like to hear. Man with a plan. A really stupid, unnecessary, extremely unhygienic plan. Oh, this is going to end well.
Do be careful, Torchy. You might fall and hurt yourself. This is a big one. But it's
No, stop it. Stop saying that.
Watch out, Flopsy and Pillywig. The pineapple will be falling soon. I don't want the pineapple.
And if I've planned it right, you're standing in just the right spot. Oh, I mean, no, don't worry.
Oh, don't be so piggle-poggle.
Oh. Oh, gosh, you nearly did kill them. Well.
Isn't it wonderful?
Death and destruction. Well, at least the destruction part anyway.
There's a very good field beside the playground.
Good, let's burn it.
All the other toys, and we'll cut down the rest of the fruit.
Do you mean we'll have a whole town of fruit?
Yes.
What a lovely idea.
Until it starts to rot.
Special song.
No, please don't. Please don't. Don't do that on our account. We're okay, thank you.
Squish, the space boy with a water pistol, was very jealous of Torchy's pineapple.
Well, aren't we all?
You'll never be able to make a house of that.
Of course I will. I've already marked the door and the windows. Now
So the job's half done.
is to scoop out the fruit from the inside. Oh, isn't it fun?
Torchy scooped and scooped, and soon a big pile of fruit pulp stood outside the pineapple.
Soon it started to smell and the flies came buzzing in. They laid eggs in Torchy's skull, and everybody died. Oh, come on, last time I said Torchy was going to die, he did fall
From
over.
a cherry, and it kept rolling all over
Didn't
the
work
place.
this time.
Oh dear, I'll never be able to build my diggle-doggle. I think I'll find a nice quiet corner and have a little rest.
Okay, you go do that. Please don't come back.
I'll sit down by the fruit pulp. It has such a lovely smell. Oh dear, the fruit is so soft. I'm falling into it. Oh, help! Help!
Look, you had enough time to describe what was happening. You had enough time to move. It's your own stupid fault. Oh, it's blocking my windpipe.
She's so floppy, I'm sure she'll need help. Pom-pom!
She's stopped moving. That's a good sign.
Have a rest by the fruit pulp. Oh, gracious, I bet she's fallen in. Come along, we must find her.
Otherwise, I'm 2 for 2 on murder plans that haven't worked today. Oh, this one's going quite well, though.
All right, I will. Magic beam that is so bright.
Yeah, skip the magic beam stuff and just start digging.
Flops is lost and can't be found.
She's dead.
So little beam fly round and round. Look, Pom-Pom. My beam's shining onto the fruit pulp. And there's Flopsy right inside it.
Oh dear, that's another creepy image of the doll writhing around in this pile of fruit.
Oh, come on, Pom-Pom, help.
Why hasn't she suffocated yet?
We will. 4 paws are better than 2 hands.
I thought you didn't like her. Oh. Close up on Pom-Pom's bottom. That's good to have one of those.
There you are, Flopsy.
Oh.
You're safe at last.
Thank you both for saving me. As soon as I've made my cherry house, you must come and have tea with me.
Oh, that sounds lovely. We'll
Oh, yeah.
come and help you burn it.
Go and have tea at her house. She'll burn the place down within 2 seconds of starting.
Oh, don't be so vain.
I can't help it. I'm a French poodle, you know, and French poodles are very particular about the way they look.
Which is why you speak with an English accent.
So Torchy and Flopsy set off by themselves.
I'm starting to think this is a
What surprise they had.
bit
Squish had
unrealistic.
built Flopsy's house for her. Oh, Squish, how kind you are. Let me kiss you. No, thanks. I'd much rather have a cherry.
Oh.
And I'll go and pick one from the trees.
Okay.
What a funny boy Squish is. Fancy liking cherries better than kisses.
Never mind, Flopsy. When I have tea with you, you can give me a cherry and a kiss.
No, oh God, no. We were so close to getting all the way through without it turning insanely seedy and creepy and disgusting. Oh, God. Now the poodle is covered in something all over her face.
All our town is made
Oh, no.
Take a peep and see.
This is not worth singing over.
The cherries red as red can be.
And Torchy isn't interested in the song, he's just interested in your cherry, as he said.
We can munch a lemon door, or lick tea like a blackcurrant floor. So if you will come
Okay, I will at least concede that these houses, the look of this little fruit town village is quite charming. It's just a shame about all the characters who are living in it.
golden plums, cherries ripe, and
She's looking straight at the camera now.
Apples and pears and juicy
She hasn't got a Canon, but
red can be.
she's faded over the image so she looks quite ghostly. Oh. Well, that's one good thing about reviewing Torchy. The endings always take me completely by surprise. That was episode 4 of Torchy the Battery Boy. Much like we've come to expect, it's the usual mix of seediness and unpleasant characters and, moments of deeply sinister, creepy, perverted puppets wanting to do horrible things to each other. Suffice to say, if someone comes up to you and offers you a choice between their cherry or a kiss, you just run. You report it to the police. You don't go round their house for tea. Ever. Just don't. Bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Very good. Again, very consistently good, isn't it? I mean, that's why he's number 2 in the charts, I think.
Absolutely.
He's consistent and he's professional.
And number 2 is quite often actually the best one, really. Thunderbird 2, Virgil.
Well, say no more.
The winner in our hearts.
Yeah, true enough.
So.
I mean, what would it take to get into number 1, though? What could he possibly do to the randomizer? I mean, a variety of accents, maybe? The whole episode in Unwanese?
Yes. No, let's not do that. Can you imagine? Goodness me, Chris. Don't worry, we're not laying down the gauntlet in that way.
That's very good.
I think slow and steady.
Exactly.
Keeping up the consistency and the quality is key, and he's doing that beautifully.
Isn't
Thank
he
you,
just?
Chris,
Yeah.
again.
Lovely. Great.
That's it then, isn't it?
I think that's about it. Yeah, we've covered all
Are
the
we
bases
done?
there.
Every base covered.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've forgotten something. We normally do.
Well, yes. You can put it in afterwards. Stop the podcast.
Yeah, I try not to do that too often. But no, thank you everybody for joining us once again. If you have anything you'd like to contribute, then drop us a line, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Keep an eye on the Gerry Anderson website. Pop along to the shop.gerryanderson.co.uk, and grab yourself that 30% off MEV model, which is so lovely.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
It is. And give us a review, subscribe, rate, all that sort of stuff. Keep listening. Share it with your friends. Rich is staring at me being like, I do that bit much better than you do.
Very dare you.
Sorry to steal
Well, you've
your
done it now.
thunder. Yeah.
So we'll see you next week.
Well, we'll certainly speak to them next week.
True. Have a good week till then.
Until then, have a great time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Terribly sorry for stealing your...
My thunder.
Yeah.
I worked long and hard on that. I've had special voice lessons so I can say that quickly and succinctly.
Yeah, unlike the way I said it.
How to do?
I did it in the wrong order. I said review,
order?
rate, subscribe, listen. That's
No,
definitely
that's
the wrong
not
order,
good
isn't it?
enough, Jamie. Sort yourself out for the next one, please.
I'll go and get some coaching immediately.
Yeah. Right, anyway, I can't sit around here all day. I've got to be off. I've got to get in the car and go and see my mum.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't tell
Okay,
you.
fine.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So I'll go now.
Enjoy.
So I'll see you, I'll speak to you soon and, have a good week anyway. All right.
Say hi to Mrs. Oren.
Yeah, I will. I'll say hi. Send you love. Okay, bye. See you
Bye.
then. Yeah,
Bye.
Bye.